Today on Ron Siegel Radio, we're diving into one of the most overlooked bottlenecks in business growth, back office chaos. Our guest, Krista Tucker, is the CEO of Avail Outsource, a powerhouse in strategic operations. She's here to explain why growing businesses need operational structure, not more hustle. Whether you're a solopreneur wearing every hat or a CEO trying to scale smart, Krista's insights can help you refocus on what really drives results. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Glad to have you with us.
Thanks for letting me be here.
So I share frequently. I've worn many hats, and I'm old, so I've worn them for many years. I had a business, an import-export business, for about 20 years. Running that business, I realized, one of the things again, then at Merrill Lynch, the entrepreneur knows the answer to every question. Just ask them.
Yep. That's absolutely true.
Right? I mean,
yep, 100%.
and it's a shame because we end up getting to a point that we don't know what we don't know, and bringing somebody in with expertise, we don't realize that we need it.
That's right. I run into that a lot, actually. And it's not even always expertise. It's always also just extra hands and extra attention to what they can't spread themselves more thin on.
Well, we can work more hours, right?
Yeah, right. That's exactly the
we're
mentality.
Up to 24. Can't we go a little longer?
Yep. And that is that's the mindset of many CEOs.
So you find that also?
Also, yes. A lot of times. In fact, that's kind of why I built my business, because I saw a need in the market for small to mid-sized businesses, because those owners have a mentality of I can do it all, and end up getting stuck and not being able to get where they want to be in growth of their business, because they can't do it all. You have to admit that at some point when you're building your business.
Well, either when you're building it or when you're shutting it down, one or the other.
That's true. That is true. Yes, absolutely.
Because most small business owners, they started their business because of a passion for something.
Yep, 100%. Or a skill that they wanted to bring to the market.
Okay, yeah. And most of them, from my perspective, they didn't start their business for the idea of compliance.
Nope.
And being an HR manager. So how do you solve that problem?
So, well, there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but what I like to do is be able to come in and be seen as the executor. So I work well.
Not the execution.
Not the executioner.
Okay.
We work very well with visionaries, which is typically the CEO mindset. You have a vision for your business. You want to go and build it in this direction and have all these things that you want to do. But execution can take time away from your step forward. So partnering with them in that way, being able to be a duplicate of them in the space of their business, can really allow them to grow at a super speed.
So what do you mean by being a duplicate of them? What does that mean?
So when a CEO is trying to manage all aspects of their business, the vendor relations, the staff, the actual service of what they're doing, bookkeeping, for example, they aren't able to execute all of the things. If they were to step outside of themselves and hire somebody, right? The trust there is something that CEOs have a hard time getting over. Can I trust you to do it in the same way that I would do it? If you're hiring multiple vendors, that CEO has to make sure that they're in tune with all of those vendors at once to make sure that they're on task in the way that they would want the job to be done. So when I say a duplicate of them, it would be me or my staff or my team being able to come in and execute in the same manner that they would if they were in that place, and hold the vendors, staff, and et cetera accountable for the job that they want done in the way that they would want it done for their company, as if they were doing it themselves.
So are you full-time part of that the company then? Or do you do part-time, or how do you work?
It's like a fractional.
Okay.
So it would be as needed in the office if that was something that they required. But most of my clients, we have the ability to work outside of the office with them and just manage the day-to-day from a perspective of remote with them.
So what is the benefit of hiring somebody remotely or fractional, as you put it, as opposed to bringing on more people, or do you help them bring on more people?
It depends. It depends on the size of the company and the need. So yes, I have helped staff up a company. I've helped manage the team that's inside the company, the vendors, etc. Um, what the benefit of having a fractional COO or fractional person in this manner is big box executive C-suite level execution at a fractional price. So you're not paying for that multiple level C suite for your smaller company at that price that you would normally have to do if you brought them in full time.
And that's a big issue. I know when I had a company, as when we were real small, couldn't afford anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you get bigger, you can't afford not to have.
Right.
Right. Those are some of the big issues. We're going to come back and talk more with Krista. When we come back, I want to talk about what's the difference between a fractional COO and a consultant or a vendor manager. We'll talk about that when we come back. We are continuing our conversation this morning. Krista Tucker is with us. Avail Outsource?
Yes.
Avail Outs. Got to get the company name right. I saw it on the screen here, and I don't know why I second guessed.
Avail is the most important.
Avail is the most important part. Okay, so we're talking the last segment about fractional COO. How's that different from just hiring a consultant or a vendor manager? And what does the average CEO get wrong about back office strategies?
Well, the
Not there to unpack, right?
right. The difference, I think, is really relies in the strategy part of it. Fractional COO can sit with the CEO and strategize for the entire business rather than just one segment of the business. So if you're hiring a vendor, they're going to specialize in that place that they bring to you or that service that they bring to you. Same as if you were to hire staff, they're going to specialize in the area that you hired them for. Fractional COO can really come in, sit with the CEO, and figure out what the goals are and what the solutions to meet those goals would be, and then implement from that point forward. We'll build in the processes, procedures, and execute everything to reach the level that the CEO is really wanting for the business.
And so when you're talking about execute, so that leaves the CEO to go and do what he or she really does.
Yes. So that's the goal. And kind of the reason I love doing what I do is to be able to free up the time for the CEO to go back to doing what they really started the business for what they love. And then also being able to free them up to be business development, to do sales and bring in more business for their company to grow.
So my guess is that when somebody hires you, it doesn't cost anything. Right, because the way I look at it is if I can go and increase my business by 10 or 15 or 20%,
absolutely,
because I've got all this other stuff off my plate, or if I can go and enjoy my kids and grandkids, either way, it's a win.
Yes, absolutely. That's the real revenue that comes back. It's the time, it's the ability to have the stress off of your plate and breathe a little bit more.
How do you get the CEO, when you have that initial consultation, how do you get a CEO to really realize that this is in their best interest?
A lot of the times, CEOs are at the point of overwhelm when I speak to them, and they're very chaotic and pulled in so many different directions. They don't even know what one to do first. And when I have those conversations and I dig into, okay, well, what are you doing currently, and where are your pain points? It brings to light that these are things that maybe are on the to-do list that they haven't thought about in recent time, and they're starting to understand that it's something that needs to be handled, or they already know where their chaos is and they don't have time to do all of it. And I bring that solution to them to be able to go, oh my gosh, I don't have to deal with that anymore. That's amazing.
So what are some of the problems that you know about that? I just finished reading a book, and one of the common themes was you can't read the directions from inside the box.
That's true.
Right?
That's a good analogy.
So what are some of the things that you're able to see by bringing a fresh set of eyes?
Gosh, it depends. There are so many different things and different pain points for different industries and different CEOs. A lot of the time, the first thing that I see is chaos in the financial accounting space. Um, Most CEOs that I work with, a lot of them don't have a pulse on where they're at financially. They're behind in their books. They have, catch up to do. Um, and that creates a chaos that you don't even really realize because you're not in your bank account can tell you one thing, but it doesn't tell you what your company is really doing. So that is the biggest part that I see when I talk to CEOs.
So are you doing a audit before do you come in and do like an audit? Sounds like when you talk about that they're in desperation,
Yeah.
there's like, Krista, just take it and tell me what I need to do.
Yeah. So I don't have a structured audit, but in speaking in the consultation, it's kind of my own audit to see where the holes are. What is going on in the business? What is the scope of the growth path for the business? And what does the CEO really want to see? And that will allow me to see where I can plug in the right vendors, the right help, the right services, those types of things to be able to streamline what they're trying to do.
So are you bringing in other outside sources and services as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So I partner with vendors as well. That's also something that is of value. I have a great network of vendors that I work with that can bring in those specialty services and skills if we need to bring people on for that client.
So many of us, if I guess maybe some of our listeners um, are confusing like I do. I misinterpret when you say vendors. I'm thinking in my world when I was in import export, I always called vendors were the people that I bought my merchandise from.
Yeah,
Right? But I
it
guess
is.
it could be my PEO company
Or your
or
payroll company.
payrolls,
Yeah.
CPA.
Yep.
So you really have to expand the scope
Yep.
of what the word vendor really means there.
It's all the different elements of the business. It's the backbone of any business. You need a CPA, you need an attorney, you need a payroll company, you may need a 401k, all of the elements that are the maybe not the shiny stuff of the business, but the stuff that is really the thing that propels the business forward. You're going to need a team of experts, and it's time consuming to manage all of that. And the CEO shouldn't have to do that alone.
Well, it's time consuming to manage them, and it's time consuming to find the right ones.
Absolutely.
Right? Because then
Absolutely.
you're dealing with, okay, I got to go shopping for this while I'm trying to run my business over here. When we come back, I want to chat with you. I'm going to give you a little heads up
Okay.
because I'm old. I got grandkids now, and what do grandkids like? They like stories. So I want to get a good story from you, someone you've helped, and where we might be able to learn from some interesting stories you might be able to share with us. We are chatting about one of my favorites. I love the idea of outsourcing because it gives us the ability of living life. Krista Tucker is with us. Avail Outsource is the name of the company. And it's story time. I don't have any hot chocolate for you, but give us some ideas of some stories where you've really been able to help somebody.
There's so many, and I love the thought through what I've been able to do over the course of my career. Um, I think that one of my favorites is coming into we won't be specific about the client,
Sure.
but coming into a client's office and seeing really the CEO trying to manage a staff of 10 and having vendors that are calling her constantly, and then also seeing the network of their IT solution even very compartmentalized, meaning it was an office structure, but it was built like it was a home structure. So everybody was individually on their own computer, no network in place, no securities, etc. It was just a quick growth. The company had grown fast and they hadn't been able to get organized into that next level. And she was just completely overwhelmed and stressed out all the time because it was burdening her, all of these things that needed to get done, and she just didn't have the bandwidth to do it all herself. We came in and formulated a plan to execute and roll out the different stages, starting with the IT solution to make sure that they were all secure. Everybody was on a network and it was streamlined so that it was, a lot more clean for the office, the inner office to work. And then from there, we rolled into looking at her finances, the books, the bookkeeping, making sure that got caught up. She was a few months behind. We got that caught up, and then rolled into, okay, what are we going to do for your growth? What's the next stage of your business? Which ended up being, bringing on the elements of the HR side of things. Let's start doing some benefits for your employees. Let's start looking at what kinds of things we can do to bring up not maybe bring up the morale, but increase all of the exciting things for why the employees come to work.
I think when the leader is frustrated, the rest of the organization gets frustrated. They feed
Absolutely.
off of that.
Absolutely.
And if you've got a real and I experienced this many times years ago. Stress can be from a growing business too, a very successful growing business.
Yep.
That can be just as stressful as a failing business.
Absolutely. In fact, sometimes it's more. It's more
Right.
stressful because sometimes the CEOs sometimes don't even know what they don't, like you were saying earlier, they don't know what they don't know until they get hit with it. And sometimes that's a negative. It
Sure.
can be in compliance world. That can be a really bad thing, especially in California, running a business in the HR side of things. There are so many things to consider. It can be overwhelming for a CEO to try and understand and make sure that all those elements are covered. And even if you hire a vendor to handle that, those vendors, they're not hired to come in and work your office. They're hired to be on call if you need stuff or if you want to have them execute a handbook. So, like for example, but they're not going to be your go-to to say, okay, well, I didn't understand that if this was happening in the office, that you weren't going to come and tell me that I needed to be paying attention to that. That's where my role would come in because I know all of those elements and when to call in the right experts to handle what's happening in the office.
How hard is it to get the buy-in from the CEOs?
It's challenging because they initially look at it as an expense and not a revenue builder for them. But if I can help them understand what you explained earlier, the element of bringing their time back and that their time is valuable, what they're spending on what they're doing currently is not the best use of their time for their growing business, then they can see it. And if they have the pain points that they can feel already, that typically helps.
Yeah, if they're in pain and realize that maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
It's not the train.
Yes, exactly.
What do you find is most rewarding about what you're doing?
Oh man, I love to see the deep breath of relief and being able to help my client move up to the next stage of their business. I love to see growth in people that have stepped into their world of wanting to bring something to market, to be able to see it get to the next stage for them and the excitement that comes from that.
You have to work. Are you working with them on exit strategies too?
Exit for like the business exit?
Right, trying to figure out, how to what do they want out of it as far as, are you wanting to grow it? Are you wanting to
Yes.
transfer it to the next generation? Are you trying to go public?
Yes, because ultimately those determine how fast and what direction you want to go. And we also can help with that as well. But yeah, I mean, that is all part of the scope of the initial consultation because you have to understand that in order to see where their mind is going to be.
So what advice are you going to give someone who just doesn't want to let go? Because the entrepreneur, the founder, they're used to doing it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the best advice would be, well, I usually say you have to have a little bit of trust. You have to have a little bit of leap of faith, basically. If you want to see your business get to the other side, you have to take that leap of faith and know that you can't handle it all. You can't. You just can't do it alone.
I had a friend of mine one time who believed she had to do everything. And I said to her, if you let's just say you're right, that you're a score of 100.
Yeah.
I said, now if the most you can do in a day is 100,
Right.
but if you can hire 370s,
Yep.
you've now you've outdone yourself.
That's an absolutely great analogy.
Right. I mean, because you just can't. And especially like you said, in California, it's a little litigious area.
Yep. It really is.
And, the state's always looking to get more revenue by putting more regulation.
That's right. That's right.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Well, it's great information. I love listening, and you probably get to do what I like. I love studying business.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So you're probably getting, okay, I studied kind of a little bit of this business, a little bit of that business and that business, and I can bring them all together
and cross collaborate. It's really nice. And I really enjoy meeting people like you do, and learning about what their goals are and being able to help them reach their goals is really exciting for me.
I bet when you see somebody get to that, that aha moment or take a deep breath.
Yes. Yes.
Or maybe even the entrepreneur that gets to go on vacation.
Yeah. Or spend time with their family and know that, know that I've got it, that we've got it, that we're going to handle it. And you don't have to worry about that part anymore. Most of my clients have been with me for, 10 years because they really value that piece, because once they have it, they don't ever want to go back.
Yeah. Once you understand, because when they first hired you,
yeah,
they're probably doing it in a nervous sense.
Absolutely.
Right?
Or
Somebody
reactionary.
told them they should have. Yeah. Reaction. Exactly. Somebody told them they need it. Somebody told them they should do it. And, they're okay. I'm going to put my toe in the water.
Yes. Yes.
And then when they jump in and realize that, it does make for a better life and a better business,
then they can't wait to give more stuff away.
And I bet that happens all the time.
Yeah, it really does. It really does.
Great information. If you want more information, or if you want to talk to Krista, give me a call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And if you're watching us on our replays, availoutsource.com. Availoutsource.com is how you can reach Krista as well. And again, always call me, 800-306-1990.